Imagine a quiet village where nothing unusual ever happens. A place where mornings smell of firewood and evenings echo with children's laughter, until the day a young boy named David vanished without warning, leaving behind nothing but a fallen slipper on a dusty footpath. A slipper that would become the only clue in a story that would shake the entire community and rewrite the life of a child forever. Before we go deeper, take a moment to subscribe and comment your time and location, because this story will pull you into a mystery that unfolds slowly, breathlessly, and with a tension that feels almost unreal. It began on a warm Saturday afternoon, the kind that feels harmless and familiar, when David ran off to chase a butterfly near the forest's edge, a place every parent warned their children about, a place said to hold secrets older than the village itself. And when minutes turned into hours and the sun dipped low, the panic began to spread like ripples in a still river. Search parties rushed out with lanterns and trembling voices, calling his name into the trees that swallowed sound like a hungry mouth. And as darkness fell, the village realized something terrifying. David was gone, completely gone, and the forest had no intention of giving him back easily. Night in the village arrived heavier than usual, pressing against rooftops and hearts alike, and as the search teams pushed deeper into the forest with flickering lanterns and desperate footsteps, they began to notice something unsettling. No matter how loudly they shouted David's name, the forest refused to echo it back, as though the trees themselves were swallowing their voices, hiding every sound beneath a thick, eerie silence that felt almost alive. Mothers clutched their wrappers tighter, fathers gripped machetes with trembling hands, and even the bravest hunters whispered that this was no ordinary disappearance, that the forest had moods and rules and ancient boundaries that no child should ever cross, especially alone, especially at night. They searched until their legs burned and their lamps dimmed, following broken twigs, disturbed soil, and faint footprints too small to be anything but David's. Yet every trail ended abruptly, fading into blank earth, as if the boy had simply stepped out of the world and into something else entirely. Whispers spread quickly. Some said spirits had taken him. Others said he followed a strange light, and a few claimed the forest had chosen him for a reason none of them could understand. And with each passing hour, hope thinned like smoke in the night air. By the second night, fear had wrapped itself around the village like a cold blanket, and yet something pushed the search party to return to the forest once more, driven by a mixture of desperation, love, and the faint belief that miracles sometimes hide in impossible places. As they walked beneath the towering branches, exhausted and whispering prayers under their breath, one of the hunters suddenly froze, raising a shaking hand toward the darkness ahead. Because there, far beyond the trees, a soft pulsing light glowed where no light should exist, drifting slowly like a lantern carried by invisible hands. The men exchanged anxious glances, unsure whether to approach or flee, but hope was a dangerous temptation, and so they followed the glow deeper into the forest, only to watch it vanish the moment they stepped closer, dissolving into the shadows as though teasing them, guiding them, daring them to continue. Some whispered that it was a spirit showing the path. Others said it was the boy himself, still alive, still trying to find his way home, and so they pressed onward despite the growing dread, unaware that the same mysterious light had already appeared to David, soft, warm, and impossibly calming, leading him to a place no villager had ever seen before. David followed the gentle light without fear, stumbling through bushes and roots, guided by an instinct he did not understand, as if something deep within him recognized the glow and trusted it completely, even though he had never seen anything like it before. The forest around him grew quieter the farther he walked, the usual rustling of leaves fading into a deep, almost protective silence, until he stepped into a clearing so beautiful and unexpected that it stole the breath from his small chest. Moonlight spilled across the open space like silver paint, illuminating smooth stones arranged in perfect circles, circles that looked deliberate, ancient, untouched by human hands for generations, and in the center lay a broken wooden box carved with strange symbols that shimmered faintly in the night air. David moved closer, drawn to it the way a moth is drawn to flame. And the moment his fingers touched the cracked wood, a soft vibration hummed through the ground, rising through his feet, traveling up his spine, filling him with a warmth that felt both frightening and familiar, as though something hidden inside him had just been awakened. He didn't know it yet, but this moment, this quiet, glowing clearing, was where the talent he would return with was born. As David stood in the moonlit clearing, a faint sound drifted through the air. Soft at first, almost like a whisper carried by the wind, but gradually growing clearer, fuller, richer, until it formed something that made his tiny heartbeat stumble in disbelief. It was music, gentle, haunting, impossibly beautiful, echoing from nowhere and everywhere at the same time, weaving through the trees like a living thing, wrapping around him with such warmth that he forgot the cold night, forgot he was lost, forgot every warning he had ever heard about the forest. The melody rose and fell in long, flowing waves, each note glowing inside him like a spark, settling into his bones, threading through his mind, filling him with images and feelings he had no words for, as though the music was teaching him, shaping him, rewriting something deep and hidden within. His fingers twitched in response, moving unconsciously in the air, mimicking patterns he had never seen, playing along with a song he had never heard, and yet somehow understood with astonishing clarity. David had no idea where the sound came from or why it seemed to choose him. But one thing was certain. The forest was not just guiding him. It was gifting him something extraordinary. The mysterious melody grew stronger, curling through the air like smoke made of sound, and David felt it sinking deeper into him with every passing second, not just into his ears, but into his memory, into his heartbeat, into the quiet corners of his mind where dreams were stored and forgotten. He sank to his knees on the cool forest floor, eyes wide, breathing slow, feeling as though the music had wrapped both arms around him, lifting him gently from fear and settling him into a strange, peaceful wonder that made the darkness around him feel almost safe, almost familiar, as if he were meant to be there all along. The notes shifted suddenly, rising higher, weaving faster, forming patterns too complex for a child to understand. And yet David understood them perfectly, feeling his fingers move again, tracing shapes in the air that matched every rise and fall of the invisible rhythm, every delicate pause, every sudden burst of emotion hidden inside the melody. The clearing seemed to brighten for a moment, as though the trees themselves were responding, and then a final tremor of sound rippled through him, soft but powerful, like a whispered command closing a book. When the music finally faded, David felt different, lighter, sharper, awakened, carrying something inside him that had never been there before. Back in the village, the search teams were exhausted, their lamps dimming, their voices cracking from hours of shouting into a forest that refused to answer back, and many of them were beginning to fear the worst, whispering that maybe the boy had wandered too far. Maybe the spirits had taken him for good. Maybe the forest had claimed another child the way it had in old stories told by firelight. Mothers wept softly into their husbands' shoulders, elders murmured prayers under their breath, and even the strongest hunters, men who had once chased wild animals without trembling, felt their courage thinning like morning mist, swallowed by the terrible uncertainty of not knowing where a small, frightened boy could have disappeared to in such a vast, silent wilderness. Just when hope seemed to crack, one of the men spotted something on the ground, a trail of tiny footprints pressed into the damp soil, faint but unmistakably human, and moving in a direction no one had dared check before, a direction deeper into the forest's heart, where the trees grew older, thicker, and less welcoming. The discovery jolted everyone back to life, lighting a spark of determination that spread quickly, and without hesitation, they followed the prints, unaware that those same steps had led David to a place none of them had ever imagined existed. The search party pushed deeper into the forest than they had ever gone before, brushing past thick vines and ancient roots, moving toward a part of the woods whispered about only in old tales, a place said to be alive with things beyond human understanding. Their lanterns flickered weakly, casting trembling shadows that danced along the tree trunks, and just as doubt began to creep back into their hearts, a hunter at the front suddenly raised his hand, signaling everyone to stop, because something faint, something impossible was drifting through the air. At first it sounded like the wind playing tricks on their tired minds, a soft rise and fall that came and went like a ghost exhaling. But then it grew clearer, sharper, unmistakably melodic, and every man in the group froze in disbelief. It was music, gentle, pure, and heartbreakingly beautiful, echoing through the forest as though the trees themselves were singing, weaving notes so delicate and haunting that even the animals nearby fell silent to listen. One of the elders whispered tremblingly, "No human plays like that. Not out here." Another replied, voice shaking, "Unless the forest is returning something it took." They followed the sound, hearts pounding, knowing, hoping that only one boy in the world could be at the center of a melody like this. The music grew louder with every step, guiding the search party through a narrow path that none of them had ever noticed before, a path that seemed to open only for those who truly listened, bending branches aside as if the forest itself were leading them to the source. Their breaths quickened, their lanterns swayed, and with one final push through a curtain of leaves, they stumbled into the hidden clearing, the same moon-washed circle that had held David in its quiet embrace for 2 long days. And there he was, sitting on a smooth stone at the center, eyes half closed, fingers moving gracefully through the air as though touching invisible strings. David played a melody no child should have known, no human could have learned in such a short time. A melody so powerful and pure that it felt like a message from the forest itself. The men watched in stunned silence, unable to speak, unable to breathe, as the notes drifted around them like warm light, wrapping their fear in softness, pulling their hearts into the music the way a tide pulls the shore. When David finally opened his eyes, he didn't look frightened or lost. He looked awakened, transformed, as though the forest had filled him with something extraordinary and then sent him back to be found. He whispered, "I can hear it now. The music. It taught me." The moment David was lifted from the stone, the music faded from the air as though the forest had released its final breath, satisfied that its gift had been delivered, its purpose fulfilled. The hunters surrounded him with trembling relief, tears mixing with sweat on their faces, their lanterns casting circles of gold around the boy who no longer looked like a frightened child, but like someone who had touched something sacred and returned carrying a small piece of it inside him. He walked with them quietly, calmly, as if guided by an invisible rhythm only he could hear, and by the time they reached the village at sunrise, word had already spread that David had been found, and something about him felt different, impossibly different. When he was finally placed before the community, someone brought out an old wooden flute, dusty from years of disuse, hoping to comfort him, but instead, David lifted it gently, closed his eyes, and began to play. And what came out wasn't the clumsy sound of a child experimenting. It was pure, emotional, breathtaking music, rolling through the air like sunlight after rain, leaving villagers speechless, weeping, stunned, knowing without question that the forest had returned David not just alive, but extraordinary. He had left as a little boy. He returned as something more, chosen, gifted, transformed. If you want more powerful, emotional, faceless stories like this one, make sure you subscribe, turn on notifications, and comment which story you want next. Your idea could become the next viral episode.